everyone, and welcome to the channel. Today I'll be looking at the S.H.Figuarts Monkey D. Luffy Romance Dawn version, also known as just pre-time skip Luffy, or like the start of One Piece Luffy. So, after several pretty alright One Piece figures and some not so good ones, we finally have probably the most universally good figure. Now, there are things that could be better on this, but it's mainly due to accessories that it should have included. Everything about the figure itself is pretty damn good. So we'll get that out of the way right now. This is probably the best One Piece figure they've made. This is before the Nami has come out, before the Ace has come out, before the Shanks has come out. All of those figures look really, really good as well. So hopefully that means that the One Piece line has pretty much been saved. And I'm glad that we're able to get a really good Luffy relatively quickly between the start of this new One Piece Figuarts line and now. So much like the other S.H.Figuarts One Piece line, all of the boxes have got a similar style. I do like that this box is pretty much exactly the same design as the Luffy from the Wano arc, and it is interesting that they've sort of carried over a similar design. And I say that in terms of colours and paneling and everything like that, but all the One Piece Figuarts boxes have similar themes as well and similar colours. But it is nice that they carried that over to this new Romance Dawn set as well, and it just looks really cool. But without waffling on too much, let's unbox the figure. So Luffy comes with 4 faces, his straw hat, parts to swap out the hair to make it so he can wear the hat, a bidden meat on a stick, as well as several hands. We don't have exactly the same hands for both left and right. There is one unique right and one unique left one, which is a bit of a shame. I would have liked complete symmetry between them all, but it's fine. It is what it is. And it's a decent enough loadout. For those that really care, I think you can probably tell what we're missing, which is a ability to store the straw hat around his neck. That is technically something you can do with the Gear 5 Luffy Figuarts, where you can just take that. But there will be a sold separately effect part set specifically for this Luffy, but parts of it can be used for the Wano Luffy as well. But that one comes with a straw hat that you can store around his neck, a bunch of Gatling arm effects, as well as long arms and long legs, similar to the loadout that the Gear 5 Luffy came with. But the swappable leg for that set will be able to work for the Wano Luffy, but the swappable arms will not, because of how the post-time skip design of Luffy is done. You just won't be able to swap the arms. But yeah, so if you're worried about not having long limbs and not having the stored hat, well, there's an accessory pack coming out. Say what you will, they did that so that they could keep the cost down on this figure, and it is a really good figure right out of the gate. The original Wano Luffy one was pretty good as well, but there were some oddities about it, and similar thing of they didn't have the right accessories, but more so that didn't have the right faces as well. Whereas this one, it lacks a bit in accessories, but it has really good faces, and the figure itself is better. So taken out of the box and put on a display, here is Luffy, and he is looking good. I do really like the pre-time skip design. It's very nice, simple, very shonen protagonist style, just bright, bold blue, nice deep red, and a clear, clean, easy design. And it just looks good from all angles, very sleek, very simple. Does definitely capture that One Piece look, the sort of lanky, skinny bodies that a lot of the characters have, and the very over-exaggerated looks that they have later on. We can get that later thanks to the accessory pack and stuff like that. But before we move any further, here he is next to the Wano Luffy, so you can see how they stack up against each other. They do share a decent amount engineering-wise, but you can see, but as you play around with this figure, you can tell that the quality control is way better, and they've re-engineered things in a very minor but interesting way to make the figures better. So while they look and stand similar, there's a lot more going on in them that makes the new one better. Here he is next to the Marvel Legends Wolverine, and you can see how he stacks up against other toy brands, the Marvel Legends Cyclops, and the Jada Toys Ryu. So he stacks up against other figures the same as any other Figuarts, really. It's a 1/12 scale figure. But let's jump right into posability, because that's the cool part. So he's got a ball joint at the head and neck, which allows for really good range of motion. It's like really impressive, like he can look way down and it's so good. Looks a little bit up, but it's perfectly fine. Arms can move out that far, rotate all the way around. They are on a double hinge sort of thing, like the other Luffys have had, but this one feels just a little bit stronger, which I like. And the chest piece is a bit of a soft plastic, so you can bend it out of the way a bit. There is an upper arm swivel, bend at the elbow, and hinge at the wrist. There's a ball joint in the upper chest, which allows for an insane amount of bending and posing, and it keeps the sculpt going pretty well actually, which I like. So with that together, he can look down super far, which is great. His legs can split that far, kick forward and back that far, bend at the knee. Now, there are these cuffs on the pants. The original Luffy and Gear 5 had this as well, but I think the original Luffys were glued in place, which was weird. I don't remember... Actually, the Gear 5 didn't have that one. Just the original Luffy had it, but it was glued in place. And this one, it's actually hinges out, but you do need to grab it to hinge it back in. It just helps with the knee bend a little bit and keeps the aesthetic. But you can swivel the leg at the knee, or just slightly above the knee, hinge at the ankle and bend at the toe. All fairly similar to the original Luffy, but just fixed up a tiny bit here or there to make it better. So it's like the arms have been re-engineered, and part of what makes the arms better is they don't need to worry about the shirt getting in the way. So there's a lot more freedom of movement in there. The legs have been redesigned just a little bit to make it just a little bit better. Upper chest is fantastic, and the neck is fantastic as well. Now, for the faces, we get 4 faces. Out of the box, we get this sort of determined smiling face from Luffy, which is really good, really captures the character well. The problem with the Wano Luffy was that they had a similar face like this, but his mouth was open slightly, and it didn't really capture him that well. It was like a very specific look of him in Wano, and it didn't really gel super well with the character. We also get a big, wide smile. It's like a laughing smile, happy smile. It's really good. This is the sort of face that the Wano Luffy should have come with base. It was annoying that a big One Piece style smile was locked behind other characters, but it's nice that the base Luffy comes with a good smiling Luffy face. Then we also get a teeth gritted happy face. He's got some meat stuck in his cheeks, and you can see it peeking out from his teeth, and it looks fantastic. This is the Luffy I think of when I imagine like pre-time skip Luffy. Just really happy, always eating something, looks really good. And then we get an angry shouting face, really wide mouth, dilated eyes, and looks good. Now, these faces are also compatible with the Wano Luffy, so you can swap any of these faces onto that figure as well, which also means that any of those faces can go onto this Luffy. So any of the One Piece figures you've collected so far, all of those bonus Luffy faces will be compatible with pre-time skip Luffy as well, which is really cool, and vice versa, any of those pre-time skip ones can go onto the Wano Luffy too. And of course, you can swap any of these faces with the Straw Hat as well, and it looks really nice. And all of the faces look good with or without the Straw Hat. I do think the actiony face, so the angry shouting one, works a little bit better without the hat, but otherwise everything is really, really good on this. I didn't take a good look at the hat on camera, but it does have the 3 scars that it's meant to have that Buggy puts on it, so again, attention to detail is very nice. That's something that is consistent amongst most, not all, One Piece figures. But with those accessories, you can get Luffy into some pretty good poses, and thankfully, again, because the posability is better on this Luffy, I had a lot of fun getting him into a fairly dynamic range. He does basically everything you need him to do without much issue, which I really appreciate. I do like the meat on a stick. It's really cool. I do like the bite out of it as well. There is only one holding hand, which is for the left hand, which kind of sucks. I would have liked it either or. It's not a big deal, but I think it'd be nice to have the option. Like, I don't see why not. But it's very simple. You just take out one of the bones, slot it through his hand, and you're done. And it looks really good. I do like the bubbly, happy energy that this figure just exudes. It definitely feels like a pre-time skip Luffy, and I like that. He does also come with a right hand pointer finger, and I don't remember what this is meant to be in reference to. It's nice to have a pointer finger, but I don't know if it's for something in particular. If it's meant to be sort of him sitting on like the prow of the ship pointing for like adventure, it would have been nice if we could engineer like a way to cross his legs over each other, but the way the pants are designed, you can't really swivel them. They just sort of go up and to the sides. But if you could swivel them in a way to like cross his legs sitting down, I think that would have been really cool, and I think it would have made that pose look even better. And you get the action hands that work for Gum Gum Bazooka, which will look even better when we get the long arms. But for now, it still looks good, it's just not as impactful or as exaggerated as it could be. But yeah, all of the options this figure come with, they're fairly basic, but they're all good. And you can even get him into the Gear 2 pose. The Wano Luffy could get into that pose as well, but I think you needed to work at it a little bit more, and some people said you couldn't, but I remember playing around with it and doing it. And you can get this Luffy into it, I think, a bit easier, and I think that's due to just simpler posability in the arms, whereas the legs are about the same and they can do deep bends just fine. But the newly engineered arms are really, really good. And that's effectively it. This is a really good standard release figure. I don't really have any issues with the figure itself. Yeah, accessories could use just a little bit more. It should be a standard for Luffy's to be able to hang it around his neck, but I get it, and it was a pretty easy bait to do for an accessory pack. But it is what it is. I think that this is a really good baseline release, and pretty easily the best One Piece figure they've done so far. We'll see for the Nami. The Nami looks really nice, and the Ace being the first P Bandai One Piece Figuarts looks incredible, as well as the Shanks. So there's some really good things on the horizon. Hopefully this means they've finally figured out what to do with this line, and I am happy to report that it is the first genuinely all-round good One Piece figure. There's nothing really holding it back from being a good figure. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed that video, and I will see you all next time.